welcome everyone. It's the Motivators podcast, and we have a great guest today, Dr. Britt Farley. Also, let me introduce myself, Emily McCullough, Chief Clinical Officer at Motivity, and also we have Brian here today, Chief Creative Officer.
Hello.
Him and I are usually here together getting to interview very interesting people and other motivators. Welcome, Britt.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, we'd really love to just start to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you and your background and some of your work that you're doing right now.
Yeah, of course. So I am a doctorate level BCBA, and I've been in the ABA field for a little over 15 years now. I've spent the last 8 years in telehealth, and so I like to consider myself a pre-COVID telehealther. I was there before telehealth. Just kind of coming up in the field, my research has focused on telehealth and access to care for those underserved populations. I have original research published focusing on barriers faced by military families during military-directed relocations. I've had the opportunity to speak and train across different topics such as telehealth, culturally informed care, OBM. I did not have the best experience coming up in the field. I did not agree with a lot of the things I was being taught or told to do. And if anyone knows me, I'm really bad at following directions. So that kind of prompted me to start our own company, which is K-Now Behavioral Solutions. And we are really working on having that assent-based trauma-assumed care that has not always been in the field. So I am founder and co-owner of K-Now Behavioral Solutions. I'm also a professor. I teach measurement, research, single subject design, and ethics. I get to be a doctoral mentor, which is super fun. And then I am co-founder and CEO of Ike and Ivy Learning Company, which is a company in Northwest Iowa that we are starting up to reach that rural population. That's professionally. So outside of that, in my spare time, I'm a boy mom. I have 2 boys who are crazy. I'm a military spouse, and then a mental health advocate. So it is a very crazy life over here.
That's amazing. That's a lot of things. I'm trying to think of where to start. First, I'd really love to talk a little bit about your experience as you were starting young in the field, and what were some of the things that stood out to you that I guess you said didn't want to follow those directions, like you didn't want to follow those pathways, and how it inspired you to start your own path?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So a lot of the training I experienced, and I think a lot of us who are in the field, who have been in the field for a longer amount of time, have experienced pretty similar. I was trained in a lot of holds. I've trained in a lot of hand over hand. I've trained in a lot of full physical prompting. I've been a part of 3 adults putting a kid in a hold. So it was a lot of, I didn't agree with it, which is one of the reasons I left that center. And we were also trained highly in punishment procedures. And it wasn't really until I decided to pursue my BCBA and got into my coursework that I realized what I was doing was not ABA. I actually ended up starting in the mental health field as my master's because I wanted to get away from the physicality that I had initially been taught was ABA. So I started in my mental health, and one of my electives was an ABA class because since I was doing it, I wanted that background. And that's when I realized I was not doing ABA the way ABA was made to be done, with that client-centered approach. So myself and one of K-Now's co-founders, Kelly, which loves Motivity. She jokes that she's going to quit K-Now and come work for Motivity, but don't ever steal her.
I love Kelly.
Yeah, so she was trained at the same facility. And she actually was there after I left. And we found that they were doing some inappropriate billing also because I was no longer there. And they were still billing under my MBI. So there was a lot of things, and that's not the only company I ran into that as. Other companies, another company I worked with was also very hands over hand, escape extinction in the sense of you cannot do, have, or anything until you follow what I just told you to do, which resulted in like kids urinating themselves. We had one instance where the director wouldn't even let the parent come in and get her kid, which if that would have been me now, I would have been like, I'm going to call the cops, but nothing, that didn't happen. So it was bad. It was super bad. And which is not very behavioral, but I really did. It took me a minute to speak out about kind of that experience that I went through. And I have a lot of like guilt for that. So that's why we strive so hard. And probably a lot of people will say we aren't doing ABA how it's scientifically meant to be done because we are so culturally informed, client-based, assent, trauma assumed. We don't, we just assume that everyone has some type of trauma, especially if they've been in ABA for a long time. So we approach much more client-centered in how we do things, and we collaborate with the clients. So even at age of 3, they're a part of what goals we're trying to put into place for them. We don't just do what the family says. We also include them in that treatment. So I know that won't ever make up for kind of what I went through or what they went through that I did, but that's the goal, especially with K Now and Ike and Ivy moving forward through the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I thank you for so much for sharing that. I think these stories are really important to share. I can relate as well, and each of us have ways that we kind of feel like we can give back
Mm-hmm.
because of some of those experiences that we've had. But I would love for you to share a little bit more about KNOW,
Okay.
where you're located and your leadership and how it started. And I know you've already talked a little bit about it, but yeah, a little bit more about the organization.
Of course, yes. I kind of feel set up with the where we're located question.
Oh,
It always takes me a minute to see. So we are technically a telehealth remote-based company. Our headquarters used to be in Idaho. We moved them to South Dakota because, as I said, I'm a military spouse. So we moved out of Idaho for a station. And so we moved actually the company's headquarters into my mom's place because KNOW is family owned. It is owned by myself, my mom, and my best friend and my son's godmother, Kelly. So we all are together. So headquarters are in South Dakota. We have BCBAs in Washington, Idaho, Arizona, about to be one in Texas. We have we call them level 1, so they're that step right below when they're about to become a BCBA. Texas, Alabama. I'm in Virginia, Iowa. I think that's, and then we have some of our operations. I don't like to call them support because I think that kind of undermines a little bit. So our operations team, who does the non-clinical work, they are in Idaho, Kansas, and Iowa. So we're kind of spread out all over. And so how we have it set up is we do a hybrid model. So as I said, I researched telehealth, been in telehealth for so long, and I will go to bat with anyone who says that the hybrid model versus straight telehealth is not as effective. So we do a hybrid model where we support our BCBAs support centers that we have partnered with and provide supervision to their BTs and their clients. And once a month, anywhere from 1 to our entire team is going to be up there in September. So somebody is up there once a month for about a week to see in person, to see centers. It's usually more than one person up there so that we can hit everyone that we work with. So that's our hybrid model. And the question always comes, so what do you mean by other centers? So we also partner. So we do a business consultation model where we help centers get started. We call it Powered by KNOW. So it's not like we don't franchise, but what we do is we have our model, which I kind of talked about with the client
Mhm.
centered. We also have our business model. And so they partner with us and we help them kind of get kickstarted and off the ground with the business side. That includes handbooks, session notes. We figure out what their funders are. We help them through the credentialing process. Um, we do training, both HIPAA operationals training, and we do clinical training for them. And then they have the option to stay on with us, and they work with one of our BCBAs. I don't think my mom likes that I explain it this way, but it's kind of like a maid service. So you pay for the service and not the individual, which if anyone watches Gilmore Girls, they get that reference.
Yeah.
If you don't, you should. But so they contract with
Goodness.
us, and then we have a BCBA for them. The BCBA is paid by us. They are our employee. And we do employee, not contract. And so it really is that. And they're strictly trained in how we do things K-Now wise. And then they partner with those businesses. And we usually do more than one BCBA. And that way, if, for instance, we have one of our chief clinical officers out on maternity leave right now, but the companies she works with, they still have BCBAs because we step in and help. So you're never going to lapse your BCBA when you're partnered with us. So we do that. And then we also provide just training in general and CEUs. One side I don't think Motivity has gotten a chance to see really because it's not as integrated, but we have an intern program. So we have paid interns. So we pay them. And then we also have a couple free internship spots. So they don't pay, we don't pay. It's that they commit so many hours and then we commit the supervision. And then we also have a paid internship, but we're kind of on the back burner with that. So I'm not going to talk about that as much. But what we do with our supervision and internship program is our interns get assigned a BCBA and a company or two, and they really get to learn how to be a BCBA. And our focus through that intern program is not necessarily making sure you pass a test, but it's for life after the test. We want you to make sure that you're feeling comfortable going into that first year. We partner with Pass the Big ABA for the study component. So we pay for them to go through a Pass the Big ABA course and for the manual. So, and then they go to school. So that's kind of that foundation in teaching the terms, the academics, the studying, and then the actual application of ABA. So we have a very well-rounded program in that sense. And kind of one of the reasons we took that approach is because both myself and Dr. Jepson, my mom, teach, and we really saw the gap in coursework and application of it. Because we know so many who can probably recite the entire Cooper to you, and it's like a dictionary. But when they get in the field, they can't apply it. Or my favorite is they're so by the book, they can't adjust it to meet the needs of our clients. So filling that, we hope with that life after the test approach, we hope to fill that gap.
So K-Now sounds to me like you're an organization that's really focused on mentorship. So not only at the clinical level, it's also at the business level. That's pretty amazing. That's such a huge need.
Yeah, my philosophy has always been teach others to reach more. Because as an individual, I can only teach so many people. I can only help so many clients. But it's like that movie Contagion at the end where they like spread all of the lines. So if I can teach 3 people, I can mentor 3 people, they can reach 3 more each. And then that helps us meet the needs of more clients. Whereas if I was just trying to do just me or just us 3 owners, we can't reach as many clients. So my philosophy has always been teach others to reach more. going through
Teach
it.
others to reach more. I
Hmm.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and then you had asked, we do have an RBT training also, so we help at the RBT level. Um,
Mm.
the first version of that one is out right now, but we are revamping it, and that one will be ready in October. Again, the same philosophies in our RBT training as it is in supervision and in clinical and in business. So it is a very unique model.
It really is. And I just think it's so cool. I think remember the first time I saw your team over Zoom and like how you guys uniquely interacted with each other and then you told me, "Oh, this is my mom." And then I was like, "Oh, okay, this is all
Yeah,
making
sometimes we
sense
have to give that
now."
disclaimer.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah,
get it. I work with my sister. My sister works in
yep,
Motivity, so that's pretty fun. We'll go on like demos together, and I think I could
yeah,
see it in their eyes, and they're like, they look so much alike, and they're like, we're sisters. Like, and they're like, oh,
yeah.
okay, I see.
My sister
Yeah.
came on. Actually, she is our compliance officer. And so I love working with her. I got to take her to her first conference. She's younger than me, and it's been amazing getting to see that. And then we also brought my cousin on. Um, so I love that we get to bring family and the family aspect also. So we once a year, KNOW pays for a retreat because we are remote.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get everyone together in one spot. Last year it was Idaho. This year it's going to be Minnesota. And we have four of our clinicians bringing their kids. And so we hire a babysitter to make sure that they can be a
Wow.
part of it and their kids can be there. We have two babies who the moms aren't ready to leave, and I'm like, that's okay. My youngest went to John Bailey talk with me when he was little, so I understand that. So we're very family focused in that sense, and we try to be, and we work really hard to take feedback from our staff in what they need, um, and doing all that. And we all meet. I think I meet more with my remote staff than I ever did in person. We have meetings every day with each other, or we just randomly hop on and do office work together. So if
Yeah,
somebody's like, "Hey, I need to focus,"
mm-hmm.
then we're like, "Okay, let's jump on. We can both be working, but we're also there to help each other focus, or just kind of have that camaraderie that you usually get in person." So it's a
Mm.
really big focus there.
Yeah, the body doubling. Yeah, that helps a lot of
Hmm.
people sometimes. Mm.
Yeah.
So, so what kind of got you started with ABA? We kind of jumped to where like you started working, but what was the initial point to where you said like this is something I want to do and do a lot of it clearly?
So I kind of tripped into it. Um, I got into working in group homes by my sister, actually. She used to work in the group homes. Um, and so I needed a job. So I started working in the group homes also. And I just kind of fell in love with how their brain works for autism. Like, just fell in love with the brain and how they approach different things. Um, I did not go straight into working with kids with autism. I worked as a job coach for a while. So I helped
Mm.
individuals with different disabilities get jobs and help them keep the jobs. And then I went into the clinic setting. I would say I knew that this is exactly what I wanted to do. I honestly don't know. I really tripped into it. The telehealth portion, I knew I got into first out of necessity because I'm a military wife and we move a lot and I hate changing jobs. So it was to find a company I could be remote with. The KNOW got started and I tripped into KNOW honestly because of COVID. Um, like I said, I don't remember when I knew this is what I wanted to do forever, but I knew in COVID that this is KNOW and telehealth is where I was supposed to be because in January of COVID, I about quit the field completely. I'd been with two companies that I never wanted to be affiliated with again. Um, and those two are my only autism experiences with ABA. And so I was actually ready to leave the field and go back to school, even though my PhD is in ABA. And then COVID hit, and I found a way that I could really give back, and I could reach others in that client-centered model. So it was early on, I think, that I decided ABA, but I honestly don't know when it happened.
So you were able to still get a job in a group home without any training or anything. You were just kind of like helping out, and then you eventually started to do some more formal stuff.
Yes. So it's kind of funny. So I'm pre-RBT. I was never an RBT. So I'm pre that certificate. I was just in the group home as a technician, a behavior technician, a support staff is what we were called. And I actually met with a BCBA would come in once a week, but I didn't know that's what they were when I first started.
Okay.
I did working with adults. I knew I didn't necessarily want to work with adults forever. I wanted to catch kids early and help. Because I think to me, that was more of an impact that I could do. So I do know when I was job coaching that I worked with autism, I worked with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, physical, mental. I worked with, in one group home, I worked with the elderly, who were neurodivergent. And that was an interesting experience. So while I can't say when I wanted to do it, I do think that I got the experience I got was well-rounded enough to know kind of where I wanted to go with my field. So no, you didn't have to be certified. There were BCBAs around, but I didn't know that's what they were or what they did. The BCBA got introduced to me in the clinic setting, working with children. So, and I think one of the other reasons I knew I wanted to be a BCBA is, like I said, I don't like listening to instructions. I'm very stubborn, and I'm very, let's do it this way. And I knew that I felt like I couldn't say my piece in that center unless I was a BCBA. So there was no way I was going to stop anything or help anything unless I got my BCBA. So maybe that's a better answer.
It sounds like you have a really diverse background.
When it comes to doing I'm kind of jumping around here, but when you were talking earlier about you provide BCBAs for a lot of your clients to do supervision remotely. The first thing that comes to mind is like issues or hoops to jump through when it comes to billing. Like, are they considered 1099 employees with them? Are they employees with you, like W-2 employees? Like, how does it work when they have to bill out for that service?
So, yes, that's a good question. For billing wise, it is the companies who contract us, they do the billing. So they're billing for the BCBA work.
Right.
It is they believe, I know what it's called, but off the top of my head, of course, I can't remember, but it's like a third party contract. So they're directly contracted with us. And then the BCBA is technically a third party. So we have a 1099 agreement. Like, we have the contract agreement with the company. And then the BCBAs are employed by us. And then in the eyes of billing, they're technically seen as contractors. So yes, that's how we do it. So in Minnesota, as any of you who have tried to help our Minnesota situations, you have to have, they're called advanced certificate holders. So that's your BCBA. We're technically still overseen by a mental health person, which is called a QSP, but licensure just passed in Minnesota. So I'm crossing my fingers that we get to be in charge of ourselves again. And then they have their level 1, level 2, and level 3 providers. So the level 1s actually are able to do supervision under the direction of a BCBA. And that is in both Ohio and Minnesota, how that one is set up. So billing wise, the company bills for the BCBA and then pays our contract fee.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds
it's
complicated, and
confusing.
especially it's state
It's,
specific, and let's get
oh yeah,
yeah.
we've learned a lot. We have a, like I said, our operations teams are not just support, they are right up there with us. And we have one individual who has been researched almost every state, and she could tell you which in Medicaid is easier to get through or less of a hassle than one of the other state Medicaids, because she's just done all that research. So
Hmm.
we learn a lot as we go.
Do you currently use this model that you're building out in terms of like it's kind of like you're giving someone who is interested in the field like a roadmap for their career
Mm-hmm.
almost, right? Like, or do you use this as which it may not have existed a little bit ago, but if they start with you as like an intern or just like maybe even doing some RBT stuff, well, now you're kind of laying out the groundwork to say, listen, you can do your 40-hour course with us, and then if you want to, you can see what it's like to be a BCBA, and then we can actually put you into the exam, and then once you get your thing, then so like are you seeing this as like almost like a recruitment thing as well? Like
Yes.
have they turned into employees?
Yes, so technically every employee that we have on the clinical side has either come up under myself, Kelly, or Alicia, who's our clinical officer. We've also, for the K-Now supervision, I think we have 3 or 4 now who started in that supervision, and that's how they became a part of the employee once they got their BCBA. And we really strive to give them the option to stay with us once they become and have a BCBA. I'm also with the philosophy of let them fly, and if they come back, then it's a win. If they do leave, usually they still stay in touch with us, and we help in any way that we can. We have someone who is in Wisconsin and just left us, but she is going to be starting to see clients. So hopefully we can help her in any way or form that she needs. So, and then we had one who, our very first one employee came up under me, and she went to the school system, which was her goal in the end. We also have had people who've done our telehealth intern and swear they do not want to do telehealth as a BCBA, but somehow they always end up staying and being a BCBA telehealth. So we like to say I turn them to the dark side of telehealth in that positive manner. Yeah. I'm
Uh,
also very good at trying to convince people to come and get their BCBAs. So if any of our employees see a behavior tech who shows really strong potential, they call me and they're like, can you like set a meeting and tell them they need to go get their BCBA? So yes. So it's like a recruitment. We just give them that support.
And it sounds like it also is an opportunity for someone who wants to have a business, because you also then help them grow their business. How do businesses hear about K-Now services? Is it like mostly word of mouth or?
So a lot of it is word of mouth. Um, it's a little, so in the Minnesota, in the East African community, we have actually been on Somali TV. Um,
Wow.
and one of the restaurants who do a lot of the Somali food, we've done a TikTok with, and we've actually got some clients because they've seen the video and the TikTok. Otherwise, all of our marketing is through social media and conferences. That's how we do a lot of our uh, marketing. And we always offer that 15 minutes to talk to us, and you don't have to pay for that time. And but word of mouth is huge. And then a lot of times on Facebook, people who have worked with us will or know us will mention our names in questions if they're asked. That's a really big one that we get a lot of our stuff from.
Yeah.
And then Google search. Apparently, we've been coming up in Google search a lot.
SEO, Brian, that's his big thing. I'm
Yeah,
getting
it
started
works.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works.
yeah. We have a director of marketing and research, and that's all her stuff. So
It's important. So I
Yes.
think the last thing I'd love for you to talk about, and you did just hint about it a little bit, what is your work with diverse populations, especially um, the opportunity you guys have had to work with the East African population. I guess tell us a little bit how that happened and your experience with that.
Yeah. So initially, KNOW started to we served military and rural clients. So clients who were specifically Clovis, New Mexico, which if you've been there, bless you. Um, and then Mountain Home, Idaho were two of our very remote areas. And then we got, during COVID, we started doing the remote supervision, myself and Kelly, because people were being dropped out of their supervision and not able to get the hours. And we ended up having a supervisee come to us from, I think it was South Carolina, when they had that law of the psychologist had to oversee the BCBA.
Hmm.
Um, and she actually relocated to Minnesota and was looking for a placement that we could supervise her in. And she went to a few different companies that we were not on board with some of their ethics or anything. And then she met our one center, the Amood Center, and we interviewed him and we started working with him. And by word of mouth, it just kind of um, built to increase our clientele that way. Yeah, so we kind of, that's how it got started. Was that the question? I can't even remember right now. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so you have locations where a lot of the population is Somali and Kenyan,
Yes,
and yeah, where and I guess how yeah, we're just talking about how that happened, and I guess some things that you've learned from the
yes,
process. And it sounds like a lot of your business owners are from Somali, and
yep,
they're creating their own ABA businesses, and you're helping them. That's what.
yes. And the other thing is we support women-owned businesses a lot. So we have a lot of women-owned Somali companies, which is amazing.
That is.
So uh, it's word of mouth. The interesting thing that we have struggled, and we just talked about this a little bit at Weeba, was the ethics that go into working with different cultures, because there's definitely that fine line of, okay, I'm not supposed to accept. So henna is very big in that community, and henna is a celebration. And we've been approached to get henna a few times, and finally we did say yes. But where's that? We're walking that fine line between following that $10 code of ethics versus offending the culture we work with. And
So
in the
henna,
very
is that the
early,
tattoos?
it's oh man, it's like a tattoo. Yes,
Okay.
it's where they use the cream stuff. I should know that answer, what it's called. But on your hands,
Okay,
yeah.
so they want to
And
put
then
it on you as like a gift type of thing.
yes,
Okay.
yep. And then the other thing is food. If you turn down their food, it is a lot of different cultures. If you turn down food, it is a huge
Yeah.
kind of punch in the face. So
Yeah.
in the early ages of KNOW, we spent a lot of time on the Bailey, the ethics hotline, and making sure that we were meeting those needs. And the biggest thing I learned during that in one of Dr. Bailey's presentations was looking at, one, will it change your behavior and what services you're providing if you accept the food or the henna? And two, if you don't and you offend them, will they leave and their kids not receive services?
Hmm.
So if it's going to result in kids not getting services, then take the sambusa, which is one of their foods. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that navigating ethics is very, and cultural norms is very hard.
What a
Yeah.
unique opportunity to be able to serve. I think because you were telling me at one point that the populations usually came from refugees. And then,
Yep. Yep. I can't remember what year it was, but there was a very large, I should know, pocket of refugees from East African, and we in the U.S. opened up those camps in Minnesota, Washington, and Ohio, I believe, were the three during that time that the East African refugees. Yeah, it's. I'm sorry if we're out of time, but it's actually interesting because in college I mentored English as a second language to Ethiopian refugees in Iowa.
Wow.
So, and yeah, so it's kind of interesting because it's come full circle in that manner.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, it's just an amazing opportunity, and to be able to help the, be a part of that population's growth, and especially the women-owned businesses, and uh,
Mm-hmm.
so they can take care of their children, and especially children with disabilities. Yeah, I'm just, Britt, I'm just amazed every time I talk to you, like how many things that you are
Oh, thanks.
doing. It's really incredible, and all your colleagues too. Like when I talk to Kelly
Yes.
and your mom, and so we're really grateful at Motivity that we've had the
Yes.
opportunity to support an organization like K Now.
Yeah. So we love Motivity. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the Motivity podcast, but we absolutely love Motivity. I myself are in the very early years tried so many different software platforms to help with that data collection, and we couldn't find any that fit my expectations really. So we actually went to Google Drive for things, and finally at one point our team members were like, we have to have a data collection system, and we ran into Motivity at a conference, and it's been history ever since. So it's I think it's the not personality, but the connection, I guess, with the people support that works at Motivity. Like we feel very connected. It is our population that we serve. Technology does get a little iffy with how they're able to use it. Some of our BTs that we support, English is a second language. They've never used a computer before. So different things like that. And I think Motivity's done a really good job of helping us help them through it. So that's been the biggest thing and with Motivity, and meeting the needs of our insurance company, because our insurance company is horrible. It's great. It really is great, but it asks a lot of specifics. So that meeting our needs and actually knowing the people who work at Motivity is a huge thing with us, for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember like one of the things that you were looking for that was kind of like, do you have this? Oh my God, you do type of moment that kind of set us apart?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing, the like aha for Motivity would have been your guys's, I'm going to say this wrong, but is it called the interface? Like how the screen looks when we're doing notes and data collection, how we can see our data collection, we can see the programs, and then we can see our notes all at the same time. That was a huge one for us. And then the other one was how we're able to also do, so in Minnesota they're called O&D notes. So we have our O&D notes, but we're also able to do supervision notes for the BTs in the system of Motivity. So the layout was the big thing, and honestly the support would have been the two big things I think that set you apart from other companies that we used. And I will say one of our companies wanted to switch to a different outside of Motivity, and we talked to the clinicians on our team, and no, they wanted to switch from one of the bigger companies that always crashes to a different smaller company. And I had reached out to my clinicians, and one of them was like, please don't let them switch to the other company. Why can't they just do Motivity? So everyone is on board with that.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that. Well, thank you so much, Britt, for
Yes.
coming
so
today,
much.
giving us your time.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for having me. That's how it works. Yep. Yes.
Well, yeah, everyone, we really appreciate being able to tell your story, and I hope everyone has a great weekend or week. And thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.